Something that nobody really says out loud about the DMs is that you can send literally all the DMs that you want and still not book a single paying client, especially if you're not having conversations, which is also why so many people are terrified of the DMs, because they're afraid that they're going to send the message, they're going to wait, they're going to hope, they're going to pray, maybe they're going to go in their bedroom and hide under their covers because what if that person gets mad? And what if they hear nothing back? And I just want you to know that this isn't a visibility problem. It's not even really a DM problem. It's a conversation problem. So today we're going to talk all about how to use the DMs as a playground for connection, not a place where your pitches go to die. If it doesn't light you up, it won't sell. And that is your sign to shift things in your business. Hi, I'm your host, Maggie Olson. I'm your business mentor, your human design expert, and the creator of the Magnetic Method Designed to Convert formula. I help women entrepreneurs just like you simplify their strategy, align their sales with their energy, and finally build a business that feels like freedom, not like pressure. After nearly 2 decades in entrepreneurship, I have learned that success isn't actually about doing more. It's about aligning with what already works for you, tapping into your natural energy. And here on the Chaos to Clarity podcast, we're going to blend human design with practical business strategy to help you attract clients naturally, sell with confidence, and grow with ease. So if you're ready to design a business that lights you up, converts with clarity, and learn more about working with me inside of the Magnetic Method mentorship and all of my other programs, you're going to find the link to all of that in the show notes, and you're going to find all of that information here on the podcast. So let's go ahead and dive into today's topic. Welcome back to the Chaos to Clarity podcast. My name is Maggie. I'm your host, your business mentor, your human design expert. And today we are talking all about the DMs, but more importantly, we're talking about conversations versus DMs. Now, you might be thinking, okay, what is the difference? Aren't they the same thing? I just want to say you cannot just send a DM and hope and pray for the best. And you know exactly what I'm talking about here. It's those like, hey, name, I just checked out your profile. You have really great blah, blah, blah. Do you want to get on a call and see what I have to sell you? You know the type of DMs that I'm talking about. And that's not what I'm telling you to send. That's not how I teach my clients to create connections, because that kind of DM is not a conversation. Right? That kind of DM is a note that you folded up into those little paper footballs and then flicked across the room, hoping to get it onto your bestie's desk. And all that note really says is like, hey, can I borrow $5? But that note actually misses and lands somewhere else in the trash, right? It's like basically just gone off into the void. So when we think about conversations instead of messages or DMs, things start to shift. Right? Your tone will shift, your timing, your expectations, right? You're not so white knuckled like, oh my God, I have to book this client. No, it's a chance to connect and explore what there could be here. So thinking in terms of DMs or conversations being a playground instead of a performance stage can actually help you really shift from, oh my God, I have no clients, to, oh my gosh, look at all these opportunities I have to connect with people. So the purpose here is in the mindset around the skill that we are learning. And this is what I teach my clients inside my group program and my one-on-one containers, is that DMs, especially for a coach or an online service provider who is selling the higher ticket items, the DMs are a gold mine for filling your programs. Now, I was on a masterclass call with a pretty well-known influencer who is a business coach, business mentor. She's built 7-figure companies. And on there, she was saying that she filled her programs by sending people DMs. All of her high ticket programs, even some of her lower, like mid ticket programs, she filled those because she was willing to go out and have a conversation. Now, I promise you, she was not going out and having a conversation saying, do you want to join my program? Do you want to do this? No. She is absolutely using the DMs as a tool to have a conversation to say, hey, connection, I know we've been connected for a while. How are you doing? What's new with you? She's creating that entry point into a relationship. She's saying to those people, and that's exactly what I teach as well, right? I'm sharing with you, teaching you how to say, hey, I see you, person, and I would love to form a relationship with you. I would love to have a conversation with you. I would love to be present with you. I'd love to get curious. I'd love to be responsive, to really hear what you're saying. This is why DMs and conversations are so valuable, because you get to be present. You get to be curious. You get to explore. You get to share, right? So I want to take you back. Let's go back in time to 2007. Now, I know I've told this story before on the podcast, in various other podcast situations, on summits, so on and so forth. But let's go back to 2007, and I want you to picture it. I'm in the Piggly Wiggly because, yes, we are in the Midwest, and the Piggly Wiggly is definitely a grocery store chain around here. Anyway, I'm in the Pig. I'm 22 years old. I just opened my photography business, and I was literally seething to take anybody's picture. And not seething in a bad way, but like just foaming at the mouth, wanting to take anybody's photo that I could, right? I was so eager. Now, the problem, I was painfully shy, and I still am to some extent shy. And I really had no clue how people got clients. Also, it was 2007. So there was no Instagram, no Pinterest, no TikTok. Facebook was like barely crawling, like barely a couple years old. You know, MySpace was still a thing, but that's not how we used MySpace. And more importantly, there were no such thing as self-checkouts at stores, right? Grocery stores or any other kind of stores, which means we were just out there living, right? LIVIN, right? That quote. Okay. So this also meant that I had to get really good at conversations, especially if I wanted to further my business, because word of mouth is far more powerful than hanging my card on a billboard at the entryway of a grocery store and just hoping somebody sees it and calls me, right? So those DMs where you're like spouting out to people, buy my stuff, right? Like that's basically what those billboards were back in the day, right? So every week, I would go into the grocery store and I would make it a point to have at least one real conversation. If I was feeling a little spicy, 2 or 3, right? So I would just be out there, and, you know, whenever I felt appropriate, it wasn't like I was just walking up to people. It was usually in the checkout line, quite honestly, right? Waiting in line, and I would turn around to the person behind me and I would simply say, hey, hi, how are you today? And, you know, like I've said before, maybe it's because I'm from the Midwest, right? Midwest nice, all that stuff. But everyone always talked to me, right? Everyone was always very kind and very willing to talk and have a conversation. And I would always make it a point to somehow bring the conversation to what I was doing and that I was a photographer. So it wasn't necessarily about how do I sell to this person? It was more about how do I connect to this person? And how do I make sure they know that I'm a photographer? How do I make sure that they know that if they need photos or if someone in their family needs photos, that they can call on me? And this is exactly how conversations in the DMs work today. You're just literally in a virtual room instead of the grocery store waiting in line to get your groceries checked out. So what makes a conversation, right? Because that story is all well and good. And that was almost 20 years ago that I was out there just living it up in the grocery store talking to people. But what makes a conversation today, especially on the internet, the Wild West, right? Instagram, TikTok, all the social platforms. Well, so I love to break things up into three, as we know, on the podcast. So I have three simple pillars to help you kind of connect with what makes a conversation, and then like, how do we get this into our business, right? So number one, presence over volume. Now, the masterclass that I was in, this woman said, send 70 messages a day. And woof. Now, you could send 70 messages a day. However, I don't teach that, right? That is not what I teach. I teach presence over volume. I want you, especially if you're shy and if you're like, oh my God, I could never, right? Or if you're unsure of yourself, start small, right? You don't need 70 messages a day because quite honestly, if you're sending 70 messages per day, every single day, that's what, like 2,100 leads? I don't know about you, but I need like 10 to 20 solid conversations per month that are booking into a sales call, right? So I'm maybe having 30 to 60 conversations per month, maybe 100. Okay. We'll say 100 just for math sake, right? Which equates to about 3 or 4 conversations per day. So I'm not saying have 70 conversations per day, although it would be maybe, I just don't know that it would be fun to have that many conversations in a day. I feel like if you could challenge yourself to have up to 5 conversations with new people per day, and then further along, 2 to 3 more conversations per day, you're going to have a solid lead base. Okay. So you need to actually see the person you're talking to, which is why that like 70, or I know Alex Hermosi says send 100 messages per day. You're not going to actually see the person that you're talking to, right? You're not actually going to like go to their profile and spend a few minutes like interacting with some of their posts or looking through what they do if you're sending that volume of messages. Now, I don't know if you're listening to this and you are someone who enjoys sending that volume of message a day, please slide into my inbox. I want to have a conversation with you because I also want to understand, like, how do you actually see the person? Anyway, moving on. Okay. So pillar 1, presence over volume, right? We're not out here needing to connect with 70 to 100 people a day. We're out here probably wanting like 5, right? 5 solid people who would be a good fit for your business, okay? The second is curiosity over control. So when you think about this, and this is what this is actually what I teach my clients in the Magnetic Method program, right? Whether you're one-on-one or group, we work on this because so many people who come to me are just like me. They're shy, they're unsure, they've tried the things, it's not worked, they don't want to fail, right? So when we think about being curious, right, you're not steering the conversation towards a sale. Think about this as exploring, right? What are they working on? What feels sticky right now? What lit them up about your post, right? Because a lot of people, these conversations are going to come pretty naturally if people are commenting on your content, which is also why content is like the bridge to DMs. It's part of the client journey, right? A cold client is going to see your post and then they're going to like, they're going to comment, they're going to do whatever they're going to do on that post. And then that's a way for you to have a micro conversation in the comments. And then maybe a day or two later, go back to that, make sure you're following that person and then say, hey, person, thank you so much for having that little conversation in the comment section of my post. I appreciate you, right? They're going to answer back. And then you're going to say, I'm curious, what resonated with you in that post? I loved your answer, but I'd love to go deeper. Getting curious, exploring, not being afraid to play. And then the third thing is responsiveness over perfection. conversations unfold. They really are not optimized. So allow yourself to be in the playground of a conversation. Just see where it goes. Ask that person about their business. Ask them, where they're from, what they're doing, right? Don't be afraid to have a conversation, like to be a human. And a real conversation can lead to a client, a collaboration, a referral. It can also lead to nothing at all, right? And all of those are wins. I've had all of that happen with myself and with my clients, right? Not every conversation is going to lead to a sale. Not every conversation is going to be a collaboration or a referral, but it can be the door opener to it. It can absolutely open the door for something in the future. So now I want to get into why just DM more people doesn't work. And this is not to shame. Again, for some people, sending 70 messages a day, 100 messages a day, that might work, right? It might work, but it also can lead to burnout because it's not aligned, okay? And I just want to say that, DMing more typically looks like you're copy and pasting your openers. It's forced small talk. It's rushing into your offer. It's disappearing when it doesn't convert. It's all those things. And it's not because you're bad at sales. It's literally because no one taught you how to stay in a conversation. So it's really important that you learn how to have these. Now, something that I do for myself and that my clients all do as well, anytime somebody new adds them on any platform, I will send a message and I will say, "Hey, Susie, thanks so much for adding me, for following me. I'd love to know what made you decide to follow," right? Give that person something to respond to. Remember, most people, 70% of the world, are sacral types. We like to respond, right? We like that. Whether you're emotional or sacral, it doesn't matter. We like to respond. And everyone, right? All of us we all have a sacral center. Some of us have it turned on, some of us have it turned off. So just remember that, like, responding is just natural for us as a human. So being able to have a conversation is super important when it comes to your business. Now, if you treat every interaction like it has to have an outcome, it stops becoming playful, and people often feel that, which is why I encourage all of my clients, and this is something that they practice, is like, that's why we practice the send a message to anyone who follows you, anyone who sends a friend request. When you go and look at their profile, you make sure that you click. And then if you do, then you add them and then you send a message saying, "Hey, I'm so glad you're here. I would love to know where we connected," right? Where did you see a post of mine? Anything like that, because that's going to allow interaction. It's going to allow playfulness. It's going to allow people to be like, "Oh, wow, this person sees me." Okay. So something I want to do is give you some next steps. Okay. I want to offer you, number one, an offer audit. So if you are feeling close, but you're feeling stuck, the free offer audit that I offer is the fastest way to get clarity. It's one conversation that can literally shift anything. 30 minutes, it's free. If you want to bring in your human design, we absolutely can. If you want to focus more on business strategy, we absolutely can. But an offer audit is going to give you a clear look at where you are right now and what the next right step for your business is going to be. So you can also, if you want a more simple framework to start creating conversations that do convert, go ahead and make sure you grab the lead magnet. Everything is linked below in the show notes. And that's going to help you move from connection to client without having scripts, right? So that magnetic client blueprint is going to help you learn how to create those connections so that you understand your client journey, because that's also something that's really important, is understanding how your client goes from cold to sold. Okay. And then the last thing that I want to say here is the group program for the magnetic method program. It's a lot of words there. The group magnetic method group program, there we go, is open, right? It is there for you to sign up to. So the link is going to be in the show notes. And in that program, it's 6 months. It's a group of women who are just like you, who are wanting more, right? They want more leads, but they don't want to spend all day going after them. They want more from their business, but they don't want to be working 24/7, right? They want the freedoms and they want to have their cake and eat it too, right? So just let this be a reminder to you. You don't need to become someone else in order to sell. In fact, I tell my clients this all the time. Don't wear a mask when you sell. People want you. They don't want someone else. They want you and all of your quirks. I promise you, right? Something that you just need to remember how to do is you need to remember how to connect. And that's exactly what we've gone over today. That's exactly what we do inside of my programs. That's exactly what we do inside of the Facebook group as well. So if DMs have ever felt heavy or awkward for you, that doesn't mean they're not meant for you. Although there are tons of ways to generate leads. And I'm sure if you're listening to this, you're like, I probably need to have more conversations. All of my coffee chats go nowhere. I haven't had a sales call in a hot minute. It just means that you've been taught to use DMs like a machine instead of a meeting place, instead of a place for conversation and connection. So I'm so excited. Make sure you like, save, share, follow, all the things. As always, if this resonated, slide into my DMs. Let me know what resonated, what questions you have. You can find me on Instagram at Maggie Lynn, LYNN mentoring, or you can find me at the Chaos to Clarity podcast, both on Instagram. I'm so excited to see you over there, and I'll talk to you in the DMs. And I'll see you in the next episode.